Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Fight Night podcast. You also get to drink in the splendor that is myself and my co-host. I'm
So,
Adam.
I'm
That's
Andy.
Andy. And we're going to talk some fantasy football.
Yes, we are. But before we do that, we're going to plug some other stuff here quick for you. Adam, you are the co host on another podcast, the Kurt Crew Fantasy Podcast. I am also a co host on the Bed Bath and Beyond podcast. You can find more content similar to this on those podcasts. If you listen to them wherever you listen to podcasts, check out b3tsports.com for more. And if you want a chance to enter a free jersey giveaway, check out b3tsports.com/contest. We're going to start the show off like we always do with our stat of the week. You want to give yours first?
Yeah, so out of all the wide receivers this week, only that finished in the top 12 this week, only one did not have a touchdown. That was Cortland Sutton. And he left some yards on the table. If you can go get him, I would suggest going to do that.
I feel like that's gonna be so tough.
Probably. He plays the Jets next week, and that is
The recipe for success.
delicious.
My stat of the week is Jonathan Taylor. I'm sure lots of people have seen this stat because it was floating around, but he leads the league in goal line carries, and he has a whopping 0 touchdowns on the season. I personally, I want to get your take on it. I'll give mine quickly. I'm not panicking on this. I mean, the opportunity is there. That's one of the most important things you can get for a running back in that area. He is extremely talented. That offensive line is not what we thought it was going to be at the beginning of the season. That offensive line looks like they're struggling.
I would agree.
I am not out on him yet. It's only week 2. It's a really bold take to be out on a lot of these players week 2, unless there's like statistical evidence that is showing you like if he were not getting a majority of carries, that would be different to me. But I mean, he's still their guy. Some of those are gonna break his way. You just gotta wait for. I mean, They played the Rams.
Yeah.
That's a tough front defense to play against. So I'm not out. I don't want people
David
to freak
Montgomery
out.
had 100+ yards against them.
Yeah.
And left the game with a dislocated finger. So,
Yeah. I would say that Dave Montgomery has definitely come into his own in the last back half of last season and the beginning of this season. So I'm not ready to I'm not ready to be out on Jonathan Taylor. I would assume you are also not out on Jonathan Taylor.
I was never in as
Well,
deep
I
as
mean, you tried to
people.
trade for him this offseason.
Yeah, but it was in Dynasty. Let's give some
Sure,
context
right.
there. Let's give context there. Zeke
Are you
versus
saying that
JT.
Right, the age discrepancy is, and we'll talk about Zeke and Pollard later on because you have a lot of Zeke shares, and actually I also own a lot of Zeke shares in several leagues. So, but before we hop to that, let's talk about just really fast. We got some IR stuff and some injury stuff. Tyrod gonna go on the IR. Jarvis is going on the IR. Big Ben, he has a pec injury according to
That's one
Mike
to
Tomlin.
watch. The way Mike Tomlin is wording that, I think it's more significant than they're letting on, and even though it's his non-throwing arm, it might be Haskins' time.
Well, and honestly, I don't know how they could do much worse than how Big Ben has been playing. I was really high on him coming in just because of his weapons, but he hasn't looked that great. I don't know how much better Haskins will look, but this might be the time they start to transition. We'll see. Hasty had a shoulder injury. Sermon had a concussion. Are you dropping Sermon in redraft leagues?
No, it's a concussion. He's slow, played into this offense. He has the draft capital. Until I see him fail on the field, it's hard to ignore a third-round pick on a team that really didn't need to spend a pick there.
Now, let's say the concussion has him out for 2 weeks. They come out, they just say he's out for 2 weeks, right? Jeff Wilson, I believe, is back in 2 weeks as well.
Close to, yeah.
Close to. Does that concern you at all?
No, Jeff Wilson is a guy who finds a way to be relevant, but is not going to be the de facto guy. It's tough. I wasn't in on Sermon. I didn't buy into him.
I also did not. Just because that backfield is so... I didn't like to ever own a piece of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I know a lot of really good analysts who are all the way in on him.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think that maybe if Sermon would have gone to another team that would have liked to use him more effectively. I mean, any running back that gets volume, you're gonna see an uptick in their fantasy relevance, obviously. But that backfield is just so cluttered.
Yeah, I mean, he got 8 yards on 1 carry, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, averaging 8 yards a carry. Daryl Henderson, he left with rib injury with, was that cartilage separation in the ribs?
Yeah, that's a painful one.
Yeah.
We talked about this with my brothers, and they were like, oh, it's no big deal. And then I'm like, Stephania Bell's like, this is painful. This is, and I didn't go back and check this, but Ryan brought up, he thought that this is what Tyrod Taylor was getting the shot for last year.
Could be.
Which we saw how that ended up.
Yeah. It's honestly, it is insane that a lawsuit did not arise out of that. No joke. Like, that's
if
crazy.
you go into the procedure, the margin for error, according to my medical source, who is also my mother, she's an ER doctor. It
right.
Counts. There is a very, very, very like within millimeters of,
like room for error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's shouldn't happen at that level, but
right.
accidents happen. But Daryl Henderson one to watch because Sony Michel looked good in the reps that he had.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
I've been in on Sony Michel. I've been holding on to him in a standard league because I needed running backs. But
I mean, if you're Sean McVay and you've got a running back with a pulse and working knees, I mean, he's gonna make him fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
It's just so. Amari Cooper, he has bruised ribs as well. He's not considered out or anything, but just something to take a look at. Yeah. Zach Ertz on the COVID list. He has contracted COVID, so he's going to be dealing with that. Derek Carr is questionable with an ankle injury that looked really bad, but turns out it's similar. Like, he didn't get hurt as bad as Judy, but man, when I watched Judy's ankle roll, I thought for sure he'd broken his leg.
Oh yeah,
I thought Carr had also very much.
Yeah,
broken something.
With our buddy Alec, and I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Because I don't like breaks like that. I thought it was one of those. So
Tua, he left the game very early with a rib injury, and it didn't look good for him, but I mean, they're optimistic. Chenault left with a shoulder injury. Deontay Johnson left with a knee injury, and a lot of people are upset because it was on a play that didn't matter. But I mean, I don't see a huge problem with them running that play. It's whatever.
You play to the end of the game.
Yep. Andy Dalton left with a knee injury, and Carson Wentz has glass ankles.
Yeah, that'll be... Both of those will be interesting to watch for entirely different reasons.
Uh-huh. But anyway, we're going to go through the top scorers really quick. I'm going to run through the QBs quick, and we can talk about anything that's majorly important. So, and this is next week, we'll be on a better system. We're using our Dynasty League for scorekeeping. After this, we're going to move to just normal half point, no bonuses, nothing. It'll just be our league of records. That way we can have all these stats perfectly set for you. I mean, very rarely, unless there's a huge discrepancy in points, these are going to be fairly accurate anyway. But we got Kyler Murray at 1, Lamar Jackson at 2, Daniel Jones at 3, Tom Brady at 4, Aaron Rodgers at 5, Kirk Cousins at 6, Patrick Mahomes at 7, Russell Wilson at 8, Derek Carr at 9, Teddy Bridgewater at 10, Jalen Hurts at 11, and Taylor Heineke at 12.
Yeah, the Teddy B and Derek Carr, man. It's
Derek Carr elite?
yeah. I asked that question. John Gruden's offense apparently just took a little while to get used to.
Yeah.
Additionally, Teddy Bridgewater, it's very reminiscent of Alex Smith with his Kansas City. He's always been a dink and dunk efficient guy. He is chucking the ball all over the field. Nobody's thrown more 20-yard passes than him. It's kind of crazy.
I mean, at a point when you're at the kind of spot in your career that Teddy Bridgewater is, you got to know that you're not like an old guy, but you've bounced around to a couple teams. You've been injured. At a point, you probably have to decide if you're going to cut it loose ever again or if you're going to be like a career backup for the rest of your life. And I think he thought that he wants a shot at the job. And if he could win them a decent chunk of games, they might extend him. You know?
I mean, you're ahead of the Chiefs in the division right now, so.
Yes. But we'll see. Kyler Murray's insane. He's definitely the MVP candidate, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. He's a cheat code right now. And he has an unbelievable amount of weapons.
He does.
Yeah.
Like, even A.J. Green looked good. Like, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, it was rocky at first. I mean, like, I was at that game. I walked into the stadium. The first thing we saw was the pick six. It was kind of rough to start.
Yeah.
But as long as your quarterback rushes 16 times, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. When they're, you lost all these running backs due to injury, it doesn't really matter because the best running back on the team also happens to throw the ball for your team. Right. So it's, he's a cheat code.
Let's see. What else we got? Oh, just Daniel Jones. I don't know why they were using him that way, but it seemed to work for them. He got a lot of carries as well. That offensive line is terrible. Like, absolutely atrocious.
Oh, yeah. And Gettleman, what was it, in 2017, is like, we have to fix the offensive line. Like, that has to be the priority. And it... Then
they drafted Saquon Barkley.
Kadarius Toney...
Which, by the Kadarius Toney stuff is also insane. Like,
yeah, he got
jumped by a practice squad guy. Anyway, Derek Carr looks good. Russell Wilson again unleashed himself on the league. Russ looks great.
He has the best deep ball in the league. I mean, it's kind of cheating.
Yeah. Like there's a point where Lockett had like 2 catches for 100 yards or something stupid.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Got him in every redraft league I was in.
Let's see. And then Heineke, I want to bring him up just because he cracked top 12. Last week I had an article on the site out saying that he should be a definite stream target. As long as he's got the weapons there, you should look to stream him. I know it was against the Giants, but I didn't really think he looked that bad. He was taking shots. I think that if you're in a pinch, you need a streamer. Heineke's a great stream.
He definitely was missing some throws that you don't want your quarterback to miss, but that defense gives him a margin of error that is going to allow him to flesh some of those things out.
And Scary Terry, man, like he's getting the Allen Robinson treatment.
Yeah,
he's getting bad quarterback after bad quarterback and still producing.
He's better than Allen Robinson.
He
as a
might
Bears
be
fan,
better than Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
You got anything more you want to say about quarterbacks before we move on?
My prediction of Tom Brady coming for all the records appears to be true.
Oh my gosh, Tom Brady is killing it.
Yeah, and the NFL scheduling committee is brilliant because the Bucs play New England in Week 4, and he needs like 431 yards to pass Drew Brees' all-time passing record. So he would break it in New England.
Yes. And he, as of right now, I believe he is 14 touchdowns away from throwing more touchdown passes in his 40s than he did in his 20s.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. Is
Yep.
is he at his peak? Is he peak performance right now?
Well, yeah, when you have the weapons that he has, I mean,
Right.
the offensive line, the defense, he is peak performance. He literally is. He's the worst physical asset on his team.
Yeah.
That's
and he's okay with it. Everyone's okay with it.
Because he's the smartest guy. He knows everything. So all he needs is elite playmakers, and he knows where to put it and just does it.
Oh, man. All right, wide receivers. So we'll go through this quick. 1 through 12. We got Kupp, Lockett, McLaurin, Rondale Moore, Sutton, Ruggs, Evans, Brown, Marquis Brown, Brandon Cooks, Mike Williams, Swain, and then DJ Moore. What do you got here for me?
Rondale Moore is a target for you to pick up if he's
I'd agree.
available. He's got the most targets on that team. They're pass happy. Try and go get Cortland Sutton. If Marquis Brown is available, look, the guy's been his last 8 games and have been a touchdown and 60 yards, and he looks really
Involved.
good this year. He looks really good this year.
And a lot of my redrafts, I was able to snag Marquise Brown in the 12th. No one thought that in the 10th, very, very late in drafts because people were and a lot of the times I was somebody's going to break out. So I'd grab Marquise Brown. And then with my next pick, I'd grab Sammy Watkins and be I'll feel it out. But I'm very confident that Marquise Brown might win me a lot of leagues at this point. Mike Evans also, he was back. We knew he wasn't going to fall off. It wasn't people at the beginning who were panicking and, all that sort of stuff. 2/3 of those receivers between those three, Godwin, Evans, and Brown, are going to go off every single week. Somebody's going to get left behind. I mean, AB had 2.7 points this week. He only had 3 targets. One of them was an end zone shot. He definitely had a shot to be not, he could have definitely, instead of 2, ended up with 10 very easily on only the 3 targets. But that offense is just crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so I have Sleeper up on the side, and I have to point something out. Don't be this person. I have Austin Eckler on my team, and somebody just sent me a trade offer for T. Higgins. This is full point PPR.
Yeah.
Don't do this. I don't want to trade with you. Eckler caught 9 passes.
Yeah.
9.
And
it's getting
Austin
the goal line
Eckler,
work.
And he caught all 9 of them. Am I mistaken? Yeah. So, Brandon Cooks continues to be a steal in a lot of people's drafts as well. I mean, he's just going to get the work. I'm a little nervous now because they got Mills as their quarterback. It's just he's not going to probably get quality targets. I mean,
It doesn't matter, though. I mean, if he's going to have the largest
he's the only guy.
target share. Doesn't matter.
Let's see. I don't okay, so Henry Ruggs had 7 targets this game. I hate this because I don't know now where, if he's just game scheme or if they actually want Ruggs involved as much, because he didn't look very good against the Ravens. He looked great here, so I just don't know really what I would like to do with Ruggs. Are you targeting him anywhere?
Targeting Ruggs anywhere?
Yeah. Right.
I almost have to. The Raiders just beat the Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, they
and
did.
Carr threw all over them, which is supposed to be the thing you're not supposed to be able to do against these teams.
Exactly.
Whatever they're doing is working, and Henry Ruggs looks like he's at least fast enough to catch a 40-yard pass every single week. It's just a matter of whether or not it ends up for a touchdown. If you need somebody, I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. It's just I'm really scared of based on the way the Raiders have performed. If you're going out to trade for Ruggs in any way, I think it's going to be really tough to get a proper deal for you. Another thing with Rondale Moore, he was only out there for 46% of the snaps. I expect that to go up, but he is a rookie. That offense is not extremely it's a little complicated the way they run it. So just keep an eye out. If he has another week like this and still is only at 46%, you need to pick him up in every league possible because he will be extremely efficient, and it also means that every time he's out there, they're going to target him. But if he's only at 46%, 50% moving forward, I don't know if he'll have 8 targets for 7 receptions, 140. That's really important when you're out on the field. So
yeah.
Let's see. Anything else? Oh, Mike Williams had another great game. I'm playing him over Clyde Edwards-Helaire next week in my flex spot because Clyde that's not it, man. And DJ Moore caught a touchdown finally.
Yeah, he's trying to reverse the Julio.
Are the Panthers good?
Yeah, their defensive metrics are terrifying.
And they are. I mean, we've only
yeah.
It's just the Jets, but
and the Saints.
And the Saints, yeah. But man, how could the Saints look so good one week and then so bad the next week? That was just night and day. Okay. Anything more wide receiver related before we move on to running backs?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. We'll do the same thing here. Starting with 1 down to 12, we had Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Christian McCaffrey, Cordell Patterson, Austin Eckler, McKissick, Naji Harris, James White, Devin Singletary, Ezekiel Elliott, and Daryl Henderson. First and foremost, we have Elliott and Pollard here in the top 12. Something to look at. We got 2 running backs on the same team. I wanted to talk about this specifically. You're a Zeke owner in a lot of leagues. So am I. What are your thoughts on this?
I am still all in on Zeke. Now, I have Zeke in both my dynasties. I don't have him in redraft. I didn't get a shot at him. But I got Aaron Jones instead, which worked out this week. Yeah. But what I did previously is I own Tony Pollard in both those dynasty leagues.
Which is good.
As well. I think this is showing Tony Pollard has standalone value. And the thing that I'm coming to understand about the Cowboys offense, they have an incredible weapon set. They have crazy weapons. Kellen Moore is going to use the weapons that can attack the weakness of the defense, and that was the run game was the Chargers' weakness. You don't want to pass against them. I literally benched Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott, started Ezekiel Elliott, and I said against the Bucs, don't start them. This week against the Eagles, I'm saying start the passing options aside from Amari Cooper. That defensive line shut down the San Fran. It's the same thing. I think you're just going to see a lot of topsy-turvy. When they run the ball, when you find a weak rush defense, play both of them. I genuinely think you can.
Okay, that's exactly what I want to hear. Is this a Chubb cream hunt? I mean, obviously, I don't think they'll be as efficient as that running offense because of Stefanski. But, I mean, is this a scenario where, you can play them both and feel confident?
We'll see.
Now, granted, I mean, Pollard got that touchdown on a kind of a trick play. It very much could have gone to Zeke, and Zeke could have had a 2-touchdown day, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Everyone would be like, Zeke is back, work the ground and pound. But I do believe that, like you just said, Pollard will be an integral part of their offense because he's a good player. He's shifty, and I think he looks super athletic. I think that he's a great fit for them.
Yeah, his EPA is crazy. It's like top 3 in several metrics, and Zeke's at 30. So we'll see.
Eckler had a pretty good day, finished as a running back 6. He didn't have a great rushing day, but they didn't really need him to.
He's never going to be a 1,000-yard rusher. I mean, if you get 50-yard rushing and gets a goal line attempt, which the 2-point conversion, it was really their only look. They gave it to him. That was their goal line touch. He got the rushing touchdown the week before. He is their goal line back, which is incredible.
Christian McCaffrey was Christian McCaffrey. He had 72 yards on the ground, 65 through the air, caught 5 passes and a touchdown. Let's see here. Okay, so Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones, obviously
Bananas.
monster games from them. Derrick Henry was very quiet in the first half. The second half was a different story. He rushed for 182 yards. He rushed for 3 touchdowns. They threw him the ball 6 times, and he caught all 6. That is different for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and
That
they weren't
is-
just little screens either.
No.
Not like a screen that he took to the house because there's no big guys out in the flat to take him down.
If this is game plan for them, if this is game script, and they want to throw him the football, Derrick Henry will, there's a solid chance, barring injury, that he will be the number 1 running back in fantasy football. Like, it just, his usage is just too insane to not be, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're a Derrick Henry owner, I really like it. If you're a Derrick Henry owner and you think that this is a fluke, and you think that you could get more, if you think now that you could trade Derrick Henry to get Christian McCaffrey and maybe something else on the idea that, hey, he's gonna be a target for passing, maybe go give that a shot. But I'm very confident that they might really like to use him in the passing game. I'm holding Henry all year probably. And then Aaron Jones on Monday Night Football, 41.5 points. A lot of people went into Monday Night Football like being ahead. I mean, I can't imagine. I hate going into Monday Night Football being up a certain number of points, like over 30 and then losing. But Aaron Jones caught 3 touchdown passes. Like, what are you going to do?
And then ran for another. This one's interesting. Cordell Patterson, he made himself onto the number 5 list. He ran for a touchdown and caught one. That's pretty much the only reason he is because of those touchdowns. He was only in on 33% of plays. Total efficient guy there, but I don't think he's not a guy who's going to be consistent on the top 12. I joked about him being. I tweeted about a month before the season. I went, they haven't really added anybody. The Falcons, and they're not like they didn't draft anybody. I went, Cordell is the running back 1.
Hey, I mean, like, the way Davis has looked, they might. It's really tough because we've seen Patterson in that role. I don't think he can be.
I would sell him high as crap.
I would too. I agree. I would very much sell
Thank you,
Cordell
Tony.
Patterson.
I got a.
I
got
think
a second for him in Dynasty.
I don't think that Cordell Patterson is bad. I think if they're going to use him as a gadget guy, like efficiently, there's a shot that he could. I mean, he's total touchdown upside. I mean, if he doesn't get a touchdown, then you're probably out of luck. But they look to him in the end zone a lot, in the red zone. I think that if his usage goes from 33 to 55, and then maybe from 55 to 65 in the next 2 weeks, even if he's not out there all the time, he will be flex worthy. But if you see it stay at around the 30% mark, even if he's efficient, you're only going to see him on this list maybe twice all year. So, McKissick, that wasn't part of the game plan when we watched on Thursday night. He got a ton of work in the passing game. I think that's going to continue throughout the year, so he's also flex worthy in my eyes.
Yeah, we'll see. Part of it, I think it was Heineke worked with JD last year in those situations. So you put the guy that Heineke knew.
That could be, but it makes me wonder if they're going to hold that though. I mean, they're either going to have to make a transition or they're going to have to decide that him being with Heineke is better for the team. So he's either going to be really involved still or
it does worry me for Gibson that happening, but
we talked last week about Naji Harris, and if it didn't go well for him this week, would it be panic time? Do you think 19.1 points is good enough against the... I mean, the Raiders might be... Maybe they are pretty good. I mean, like we said, 1 week we kind of didn't know, but now maybe they're good. Najee, I thought, still had a good outing. He only had 10 attempts, but they targeted him 5 times.
Yeah, it'll be... Najee I'm concerned about. That team is not good.
Man, week 1, though, 100% usage. Week 2, 95% usage. I mean, it's going to be... And
You
especially at
can
his draft
chase
capital.
volume all you want, but at some point it's not going to matter.
Yeah, but I mean, like when you look at that, he's out there the whole time, and understandably that offensive line is bad. But where you drafted him, mixed with how often he's out on the field, you'd have to move him for major capital for it to be worth it to you if you don't want him on your team, because you can't bench him.
No.
So like, it's gonna be I think you are gonna have to decide in the next week if you think that he's your guy, or if you think that needs to be moved off your roster, and you're gonna have to decide how much of a haircut you want to take in order to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Singletary, 18 points, 82 yards. He had a touchdown on the ground. Probably won't be. He's at the bottom. He's number 10 out of the 12. But without that touchdown, I mean, I don't expect. They destroyed the Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah, they destroyed the Dolphins. Tua got hurt. I had the opinion that you needed to sell Zach Moss. And then I listened to JJ Zacharyson on his podcast. And he said sell Devin Singletary. And I'm kind of conflicted because I think Singletary has looked like the better player, in all honesty.
I agree with you 100%, but I'm also of the opinion that backfield is a trap. If you can get something for Singletary, I think you should, because I would have a really hard time week in, week out trying to decide which of them to start, if I'm starting any of them anyway. Like, it's just, I mean, he fell into the end zone, which gave him, the 6 points that put him from 18 points to 12 points, which would have been definitely sure, top 24, but whatever. I just think that he's not going to get a touchdown every single week, especially with Josh Allen. Josh Allen likes to run it in at the goal line just because he's big and athletic and can do it. And he's no slouch at throwing the ball either. So,
no.
You have anything running back wise before we move on tight ends?
Let's back up.
Because I think that does it for me.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Okay. So as far as tight ends go, same order. Travis Kelce at 1, Hawkinson at 2, then Gronk, Max Williams, Robert Tonyan, Jack Doyle, Noah Fant, Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller, Moreau, Andrews, and Knox. Really, honestly, once you get past number 6, Jack Doyle, it's kind of like whatever, I think. It's interesting to note that Kyle Pitts was out there for almost 80% of snaps. He had 6 targets for 73 yards. But, again, Kyle Pitts is not returning his ADP value to you right now, and he hasn't been. And I don't know.
No, and that offense isn't going to score enough, I don't think, for him to.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I liked his usage.
To be fair, Mark Andrews is doing the same thing, so.
Well, so to Mark Andrews' credit, it's not because he's not as good, or not because it's the team doesn't need to use him like they did. And also, Mark Andrews wasn't drafted where Kyle Pitts was. Like when I draft Andrews, I think to myself, I know what I'm getting, and he hasn't delivered on that ADP. However, when I looked at Kyle Pitts, I knew he would not deliver on that ADP. Like, at least with Andrews, there was a shot, and I felt I'm responsible for this draft pick. I thought it was crazy people picking Kyle Pitts there. Noah Fant, I thought he'd be the guy getting some extra targets when Judy went down. They all went to Cortland Sutton. So,
yeah.
Robert Tonyan, only 43% of the time was he out there on the field. Same thing you and I discussed very much in depth in the preseason. Tonyan's going to be a touchdown upside play. He's not out there enough to be a weekly start. If you're desperate and you need a touchdown, Tonyan's your guy maybe, but
Yeah. Yeah, the tight end game is a crapshoot. I mean, if you go look at the high scores, I mean, there's literally 5 guys, and then there's a whole bunch of guys with like 14 points after 2 weeks.
Yep.
I mean, it's disgusting, and most of them have a touchdown in there. So the issue
Hawkinson,
is Kittle
that
and
is
Andrews
a big concern.
and Pitts is right at there, but those guys are absent from there. So you hope that they start to come back.
The whole Shanahan offense kind of worries me from a fantasy perspective. Are you thinking it will adjust, or are you thinking that we're kind of just going to be closing our eyes and putting players in lineups and hoping?
We're just going to have to grin it and bear it.
There's speculation that this offense was designed for Lance, and until he's in there, we're not going to see it at its peak, and that they decided to do this because it would be easier for Trey Lance to transition as opposed to making the offense for Jimmy Garoppolo, and then if he gets hurt or gets taken out, Trey Lance having to go in and then switch up the offense.
I mean,
I guess I could see that, but
they're 2-0. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
have them lose. And they beat a very good Eagles team.
I would agree.
A very good Eagles team battled it out. Jimmy G came back and got a rushing touchdown. So yeah.
Hawkinson is doing exactly what we thought. 9 targets. I mean, the dude is probably going to have 140 targets this year. He will have the volume. If he breaks a couple, he might be that next tier of running back, of tight end. There's a very good chance that he hits that. Gronk loves the end zone, just like Tom Brady does. They've got the connection. There's no reason that Gronk can't have double-digit touchdowns this year.
I mean, he's got 4 through 2 games.
Exactly.
We have 15 more to go. He needs 6 in 15. I would say it's very likely. I would be almost willing to put money on it.
Same. Waller finished at 9, but he still had the 7 targets. He was still out there for 92% of snaps. I'm not worried about that at all. Yeah, as far as the rest of these go, like you just said, kind of a crapshoot. Is there anything tight end wise specifically you'd like to discuss before we move on?
Yeah, it's tough. The tight end landscape is it's tough. I have Goddard and Andrews in our dynasty league, and I started Andrews week 1 and didn't play the Goddard, and then played Goddard last week, and didn't really matter at that point. So
all right. Well, so the next thing that I would like us to talk about now, that was week 2 in the books. Moving on to week 3. I don't have this written down, but I kind of just wanted to have a conversation about who are you looking for in the waiver wires? Who are your must starts for this upcoming week, and who are your you've got to bench kind of guys?
Well, let me pull up my.
Because for me, guys who I'm thinking are must starts, I think obviously you're playing him anyway, but it was in question last week. But Barkley is a guy who I'm very confident playing against Atlanta. I'm really excited. I'm thinking there's a bounce back for Barkley.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Antonio Brown against the Rams, I think, is also a good start just because I don't think he's going to get Ramsey.
Yeah, I think that Ramsey's going to get put on Evans. Evans is I'm teetering on benching him because I think that they're going to go, we're going to eliminate one guy from the game and put the rest on you guys. So
exactly.
And
so
Ramsey's
I would
the
say
only one who can take Evans on that team. Evans is just
100%. Otherwise, I'm benching Clyde next week. It's I know that it's the game plan to beat them is to run the ball. Passing on them is tough, but they're the Chiefs. I mean, they're gonna pass no matter what. Clyde just does not look like Clyde's gonna have to impress me before I start putting him into my lineup. more consistently.
See, and
This is
the thing that is misleading, you have to remember he got a high ankle sprain
fair.
on August 20th, and most people, it takes like 4 or 5 weeks to come back. He's playing through it.
I don't have a problem with Clyde the player. This is just from a strict fantasy perspective. Like when they said that he was full go, I that first week, we talked about how he was coming off that ankle sprain and how we'd want to monitor it, but they haven't made much mention of it in week 1 or in week 2. I'm sure that's still lingering on him. I'm sure it is, but again, 10 points is not. It's just not going to do it for me. If I see it against the Chargers, that I'll probably change my tune a little bit. I'll be like, okay, because he is an amazing, steadily running back. He's solid in that regard, and he's out there for all the snaps, except for that goal line carry. I guess I don't know what that was about. Williams had 3 carries for like -2 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
So thank you, Andy Reid.
I sent you a trade for Clyde.
I see that. Oh no, we'll do it live. Let me take a look. We can deconstruct this on the show. So Adam just sent me a trade, and he would like to send me Hasty and a 2022 second for Clyde. I cannot do that, sir. I don't want any piece of the 49ers backfield. If all of them got hurt and then Jeff Wilson was like, I'm healthy, I would want Jeff Wilson. Okay. That is the only way that
and kind of upsets me because I just traded away Tony Jones and Cordell Patterson.
Yeah.
And I would have tried to package one of them.
Right.
With them. But I know that you want a player back is the problem.
I do. Well, just because of what Clyde is, I think it'd be crazy. I've trying to bundle Clyde and Mike Williams for maybe a little bit like a solid running back, somebody who maybe is not in the same position as Clyde, but like is still a decent running back. I haven't quite thought it all the way through yet, but I do know that it's just Clyde is really in a tough spot for me right now. As far as tight end starts, you're gonna start Gronk next week, I think for sure. I'm still confident in Mark Andrews. Kyle Pitts is really tough because if you drafted him where you drafted him, you're starting him. But if Kyle Pitts doesn't perform next week, if you're a Kyle Pitts owner, what are you doing?
Yeah, he's actually producing yardage. I mean, he's got like 140 over 2 games. 70 yards on average from your tight end is acceptable. I mean, compared to he's basically tight end 7, and he hasn't scored. So let's give Arthur Smith a little bit of opportunity to get him into better situations. You can't. You paid through the nose for him.
Okay. So as far as our show goes, that's kind of all we have here. Do you have anything else that you want to discuss fantasy wise? Like, do you have any questions? Do you have any statements you want to give to the viewers?
I'm not really sure.
Yes, they're set. Go out there and win your leagues, baby.
Yeah,
I do have a funny little thing just to say. Did you see who my running back 2 was against you in that in our second dynasty league?
Use check.
I went for the touchdown upside. I literally picked him up just because it could have been Madison. I could have that's
what are your running backs in that
you
league?
If you're looking at him, you can go through him. It is atrocious. There's no depth in the waiver. Yep.
Peterson.
Yeah, he's not even on a team.
Madison and use check. What?
Because I have Taylor obviously, and then I had Gus Edwards as my 2, but yeah, exactly. So, and I was already extremely shallow at running back anyway. I was going to use all my picks for running backs in the future here. but I thought I could limp along through this year, and it's rough. So I went and I picked up Kyle Juszczyk because I thought he has more touchdown upside, I think, than any of the other running backs. I mean, he won't get any yards. He might catch one pass, but that was the desperation play.
Yikes.
Anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. Don't be in my position. Keep your running backs.
Yeah, that's a good call. I just flipped in standard. Tell me what you think of this. I just flipped in standard Devontae Smith for Tyson Williams.
That's interesting. Is it PPR or it's in standard? You said.
Yeah. And
I don't mind that.
my previous R running back 3 was Sony Michel.
Yeah, I like that. And if Sony Michel gets himself a piece of that offense, I mean, yeah. I like your running backs then.
Yeah, so this morning I traded away DK Metcalf and David Montgomery, and everyone's going, oh, I got back Mike Evans, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who.
Yeah.
And then I flipped Devontae Smith for Tyson Williams.
So then Clyde and Tyson basically for Montgomery. Yeah, that gives you a lot more depth, gives you more flexibility. I can't believe you traded Monty.
I was confident in Monty with Dalton being the starter.
I was wondering about that.
There's significant regression coming if Fields is the guy. And don't get me wrong, Chicago, I love the fact that Fields is the guy. It's going to open the opportunity for some big plays, and Monty's newfound speed is going to be on display. But J.J. Zacharyson has done some extensive studies. Typically, rookie quarterbacks don't support more than one wide receiver and rarely support a wide receiver one. Additionally, it hurts a rushing quarterback, really hurts running back. So the top end of what we saw week 1, he went out and did against the Rams. You see what he did against the Bengals, and now part of that was scheme, blah blah blah. There's a lot of things that go into that.
Sure.
But there's a difference in. I mean, he still ran like a madman, but he had 4 more attempts for almost half the yards.
Well, all right. I dig it. We will be back. Oh, by the way, if you made it this far and you're listening, the reason you're listening to this on Wednesday instead of Tuesday is I got trapped at the airport due to a missed flight.
Yeah, he's a dingus.
So that's why today you are getting your fantasy stuff from us. Next week you'll be able to listen to us on Tuesday again. But this has been Fantasy Fight Night. We're out of here. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thank you. Goodbye.